Bitcoin had a fairly quiet July the 4th. It saved its fireworks, right? We saw a little bit of downside, a lot of sideways. And what we'll be analyzing in this technical analysis video for Bitcoin is, are we about to see those fireworks explode us up in price action for the week to come? We actually have hit some very nice support, which is getting a bit of a reaction as we speak. So we're going to dive into the charts, go over a nice technical analysis in a professional way as always. And aim of this one is to try and keep it under 10 minutes. So, I mean, you're watching this now. Let's see if it was possible on a Chart Champions video, under 10-minute analysis. Well, that's the target. Let's go straight into the analysis then, right? Picking up where I left off my last video, where I was explaining to you, we were trading around $110,000. My exact words, never do you want to be taking a long trade around $110,000. You've got to wait for a pullback to the downside. And you know, a pullback to the downside is what happened next. We're actually bouncing off and around this 107,200 to 107,600 zone of support that we had. Of course, built up by those daily naked pointed controls. You can kind of see here the zone that we have retraced into. And currently, yeah, nothing massive, but a little bit of a move to the upside. And really for me, the 100, just under it was, right? The value area high, just under $108,000. So we had this really important $1,000 zone of support. And, you know, one thing to bear in mind is the day that we come and tested this level was on July the 4th, where the stock market, you know, the bigger markets are closed. There's a lot less trading volume. And so with that in mind, it's never optimal to see these moves into big levels on that kind of low volume, because on these low volume get one of two things: just complete sideways, which overall that's really what happened, or you get a massive move, you know, bigger players taking advantage of like this low volume environment, which didn't come to fruition, and we just kind of moved relatively sideways. But nevertheless, of course, this is Bitcoin for you. You can still get trades on those relatively low volume moves. And if you did long the support, well, congratulations. You ended with a little bit of a three valleys. So valley 1, valley 2, valley 3 reversals. This is a pattern in itself. 3 valleys on a lower term time frame. I want to analyze and focus on what are we looking at next. Okay, we all know we've got our pullback. We've come down into that value area high zone. We are currently trading above that. That is considered more bullish, right? So when we look at the interesting levels around us, the first and foremost, what I'll do is pull a fixed range on this, and I think that the level above us is just very clear what we'll be looking at as our next resistance, and that's going to be right here, point of control on the daily. If you put a Fibonacci from high to low, you can see how this just lines up with what I do class as really nice confluence. Fibonacci CC on the point of control. Just above, you've got the daily level, so we can clearly see we've got resistance coming in at around 109,500 to 100, really a $200 zone there. 109,500, give or take a few $100s either side of it. My first thoughts are, do you have a nice harmonic here? So when we actually pull up our harmonic tool, we can go and analyze this as a, my thoughts are, do I like this harmonic? Essentially, if this harmonic is to be followed, you get another move to the upside, another move back down, and then another move back up. But although it's somewhat nice, I'm not such a fan of the quickness of the B. It's not a full retracement. I don't know. This is something that you can kind of see with the way I'm talking you through it. It's not something I'm a massive fan of. Yes, can I see the harmonic here? Yeah, technically valid. I'm just not a fan of the angle of the descent. I'm not a fan of the speed and the time that it's taken. Even when you look for this final move, well, not final, but this move up for the C coming off of a 3-leg move, I don't know. It's just something I'm not a massive fan of. But nevertheless, that harmonic is just another level of confluence of where you already have 3 levels of confluence around the 109,500. So personally, I am in a lot of longs on Bitcoin at the moment. I'm not in a short. And so what I would look for at the moment for a new short trade would be really one of two things, okay? Option number one is, we get our move up into this 109,500 zone. We get a little bit of a lower term time frame entry trigger short trade setup, okay? So this is, you have to have a very good understanding of entry triggers in lower term time frame, because that for me is just absolutely crucial that you get that reaction at that level, because alternatively, if you don't get that, well, goodbye, these levels, you can just get that move straight through it. Well, of course, there will be, again, this is where I always say trading is complex. I try and make it as simple as possible in my YouTube videos. I know a lot of the people that watch this videos are, pretty new traders. So I try and keep this analysis as simple as possible, but you have to understand trading is not as simple. It's not simple. So you have to understand that, yes, I will look for a move into this level. Yes, I will look for a reaction at that level. We could, if we do not get the reaction at the level, then yeah, I will look for that harmonic to never come to effect, and essentially then look for $111,000 next, seeing if we can take out what would I expect to be the previous week high there from Thursday, right? So that was what I would expect to be next week's price action. A few things to bear in mind is the CME gap that you're going to have, because you actually did close the CME down here at $108,125. So this is going to be, of course, the CME trades a little bit higher, right, than your, Bybit chart, for example. So, this is another factor that we can bear in mind, that if we are opening price around here, right, we are going to have a CME gap to the downside. And this is just another pull, you could class it, really another level of confluence for that harmonics. I think it's like a funny one because, as I said, am I a fan of visually this harmonic? Not really, to be honest with you. Mainly because of the AB. I'm not a fan of the first two pivots here. I think the angle, the descent, the time, not really a big fan of. But, when we factor in all the other confluence that we have for point C, it does offer this really high confluence level for a short trade, bringing it down for point D, of course, where we can look to then take a long. This is my number one favorite scenario to be in as a trader. When you get a short trade from the high, and then price you would like to see drop in price, right? And then doesn't mean down forever, but we can then look to take a long at the support zone of D. And then what that gives us, if we then see this support bounce off of D, is we would simultaneously hold two positions. We can hold a short from this high zone, and then we can actually simultaneously, on the same trading account, if you trade Bybit, hold a long from support. And then you wait for the market to, show its hand, and you get higher probabilities. For example, if we're trading at this level and we really have a high probability rise, well, then we will close out of the short and let the long run. If we see this more of as a weak rally to the upside, local market structure broke, then we will close the long and let the short run for more profits, right? So that's something that we get into and analyze once we've got those two positions open. And this is my number one favorite scenario to be in as a trader, and it's not overly difficult to get into that. We just have to have a lot of patience and, of course, confidence in the actual trades when they are given. What that means is, we see a rise into $109,000, and, we're not looking to long at those resistance levels, but you remain confident. And, it's not just blindly shorting. Again, I'm not just going to randomly place a limit order here and hope for the best. No, as I said, I will wait for a reaction, a lower term time frame trigger, but I do feel that this is a nice confluent zone. Of course, could I take a short trade here and it does something like this? Okay, maybe I get the reaction, I get into a short trade, and it just does something like this, bounces off this previous resistance into support flip, we get another move to the upside, and that's fine, right? I just lose the short trade. If you know anything about trading, if you know anything about chart champions, I'm not scared to take a loss. It's part of the game. I'm not here to say you're going to win every trade. It's impossible, right? There are risks, there are losses involved in this game of trading. I'm very good at the game, but I'm not immune to taking losses. So, this is a short trade that I'm very interested in. If I get stopped out the short, it's fine. The plan didn't play out. I look for a new trade setup, and that would be on another $1,000 to the upside around, right? $111,000 next. So that's kind of my analysis. That's like my viewpoint, what I'm looking at. It made as simple as possible. I will end with two really quick things. We're going to get this under 10 minutes. Number one, if you want the full education, if you want the live trading, if you want the live streams, everything that you need, chartchampions.com. Get yourself over there. You're missing out. The second and last is, the reminder for Bybit. If you are in the EU, you can sign up right now to Bybit EU. They will have the option soon of times up to, leverage. So, there will be leverage trading there as well. So if you are in the EU, take advantage, sign up to Bybit EU. Again, not financial advice, no advice, just giving you the option there if you want to take advantage of the deal that they have. They have got a major giveaway right now where you can win lots of goodies. So, not bad. But with that said, thank you ever so much. 10 seconds, final words. I hope that you've enjoyed. I love doing what I do, and I just hope that helps. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye.